Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Animal Artists Collective video. The AAC is an initiative founded by Denise Soden and Jennifer Charlie to raise awareness about animal conservation through education and art. Each piece created for the AAC will be available for purchase, with half of the proceeds going to animal conservation and welfare. Our theme for this month is ungulates, or hoofed mammals, and my selection was the pronghorn. They live in my province, and I've seen them on occasion. They still hold a bit of a mystique for me because I don't see them very often. Their range is limited to the southern part of Alberta, and I really only see them on road trips and passing by. But they're beautiful animals, and I really wanted to talk about their evolutionary history and where they fit into the bigger picture of hoofed mammals as a whole. Here are some videos from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife of pronghorns. I would love to have my own footage of them, but since I see them while driving and in hot temperatures, you get a lot of heat distortion on the videos. And I mean, I'm usually driving too, so that's not safe to whip out your camera and, film some pronghorn. They're also the fastest animals in North America, fastest land animals, of course. You're never really going to beat a diving peregrine falcon, but they're incredibly fast. So even if you did pull over to try and get a picture of them, they might just run away and you've got no chance. I've heard that if you stay still, especially if you're behind a blind or something, they really don't care. They'll come up to you and investigate you. They want to know what's going on. But being the fastest land animals, I'm sure they're prone to getting out of dodge. And I haven't seen them run in person, but I would really love to one day. I feel like that would just be a real wonder of nature to see these guys go zooming. So pronghorns, also known by the scientific name Antilocapra americana, is a species of artiodactyl mammal. So they have an even number of hooves on their feet, which is an even number of toes. The flip side of that are perissodactyls, like horses, which have an odd number of toes on their feet. Horses, of course, having only one functional toe and one hoof, whereas pronghorn and their relatives have two. Pronghorns are colloquially called antelope. However, they're not exactly related to the antelope of Africa, for example, or the saiga antelope. They're actually in a family of their own called Antilocapridae, and their closest living relative today is actually the giraffe. So they're sort of a special subset of hoofed ungulates that evolved in North America. So how did they get so fast? Pronghorns evolved around the same time as an animal called an American cheetah, which was super fast. Not directly related to African cheetahs, but still really, really fast. So the pronghorn had this pressure to select for faster genetics. Faster runners would live longer and therefore produce more offspring. So pronghorns as a whole got faster and faster and faster. Now, of these multiple genera of ancestral pronghorn that I've drawn here, only one is left living today, and that's the Antilocapra americana and its subspecies. So here I'm painting a female pronghorn. There is a precedent in natural history and scientific illustration to default to male animals because usually they're more identifiable, they're more flashy. You can see this a lot in birds where, say, the male birds of paradise look wildly different from one another, whereas the females of each species tend to look similar and brown. That also happens in hoofed animals because the females sometimes have smaller horns or antlers and tend to look a little more similar to one another than the males that have the clearly identifiable diagnostic horns and antlers. But I really just wanted to paint a female here. She's got some horns, but they're smaller, and it opens up the composition to be less about the horns and more about the other features of the animal. For this painting, I wanted to keep a limited palette, using mostly neutral gray, a gold ochre, Payne's gray, umber, white, and a really nice Mars orange from Stone Ground Paint Co. It's a mix of watercolor and gouache, but mostly the opaques of gouache. Even the Mars orange that I have, even though it's marketed as a watercolor, it has a lot of gouache-like qualities. It's very opaque, it's very creamy, I love it. And I just wanted to take this portrait and focus it in. Even though there are tons of bits I love about pronghorns, like I love their coarse fur, I love the white bums that they have, and their legs, and their stocky bodies. Here's a picture of a female and a male pronghorn together, so you can see just how chunky the males are, especially around breeding season. They get really buff. But yeah, I wanted to keep it focused just on her face, just really give her some texture in her fur, make her look really nice, and add the detail of a reflection in her eye that sort of tells a story about what pronghorns are facing today. Their range has been shrinking compared to a recording from 1976 to around now. According to the IUCN Red List, it's shrunk by, I mean, I don't want to give specific numbers, but visually it's about 50%. And they've even tried reintroducing them in parts of the states, looks like in Washington. Obviously in North America, it's a highly, agriculturalized landscape now. There's farms everywhere, there's fences everywhere, there's towns and cities, there's deforestation, and pronghorns now, having evolved in a North America that was wide open during the Pleistocene, they were running away from cheetahs, they had all this space to go, and now they live in a somewhat limited area that's constricted and turned into sort of a puzzle by agriculture and fences. Pronghorn have this weird tendency to go under fences rather than over them. They're built for running. They're built for horizontal, motion, not for vertical motion. So they don't tend to jump. It's just not their habit. So these fences are really, stifling them and inhibiting their ancestral migration pathways. They outsurvived the cheetah just to become trapped by us instead, which is kind of sad. They still make it around. Obviously their range is still quite large, large areas of southern Alberta and of the northern states. But it's important to remain aware of how our impact on the globe and on the landscape is affecting animals like the pronghorn, and it's the last species left. There aren't any other close relatives of the pronghorn. Even the giraffe is like a pretty far away relative. Like, I wouldn't say that they're going to the same family reunions. But yeah, if you're interested in purchasing this gouache painting, it's available in my Etsy store. There's a link in the description below, and the proceeds will be going towards the Calgary Wildlife Rehabilitation Society, which they don't necessarily help pronghorn specifically, but they help animals that are trying to navigate this landscape that's been changed so drastically by humans. And this is the time of year where they're getting tons of baby animals. I follow them on Instagram, and they have like 7 fawns that they're caring for, like 7 baby deer, which they're so cute, and I know that they're being well taken care of, but apparently they drink a lot of milk. So supporting the Calgary Wildlife Rehabilitation Society will help feed all those hungry baby animals. Make sure to check out all of the other Animal Artist Collective videos going up this month, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!